United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, joins me. Nice to see you, Jeanine.
Nice to be with you, Greta.
And I got to tell you, I've lived here forever, and since you got to town, I'm not going to give you all the credit. Besides those mobs, which I don't blame you for, it feels safer in this town.
Oh, thank you. You know, it is a joint effort, and between the president's decision to pour resources into D.C. and the coordination between the local and the federal agencies, and the fact that my office, we've changed our policy. We're going forward on all the arrests, other than 10% of the arrests, to make sure that people are accountable. And, you know, it's tough. It's been very tough, this surge on the prosecutors in my office. We work around the clock. But I think it makes a difference. It's palpable. The streets were not safe. You had the 4th highest murder rate in the country 2 years ago. I mean, think of that. This is the nation's capital.
Even the road that I drove down until actually you came to town is that I drive down a main thoroughfare, and it was at, one of my shows at 6 and 7 o'clock at night. You looked because you were worried about carjackers.
Yeah, it's carjackers and kids with guns and, all kinds of hoopla that's going on where kids feel emboldened. They're not at all threatened. They don't see consequences. And it's like the Wild West. It really is. And I'm from New York, Greta. I mean, as are you. But, I mean, think about it.
I'm Wisconsin. I'm a cheesehead.
Huh?
I'm from Wisconsin.
Yeah, I knew you'd go there. But we spent a lot of our professional years in New York.
So what's with these mobs? And how do you? These are juveniles, which puts in a whole different category. The law is different for juveniles and adults. How can you possibly? What are you going to do about this? What's the answer?
Well, I'll tell you what I want to do about it, and I've been doing it since the day I got into D.C. We've got adult crime down. I mean, whether it's robberies, burglaries, whether it's homicides, everything is down exponentially since the surge. But the only thing that hasn't changed is youth crime. And there is this mentality that the D.C. Council has that these kids need to be coddled. They need to be protected. They shouldn't be brought into the criminal justice system. And you and I both know, Greta, we come from states where kids are responsible legally 16, 17, 18. And here in D.C., it's not until they're 18 unless it's Title 16.
Well, some of these crimes are being convicted by 15, 14, and 13. There was one case before you got here where I think it was 5 girls, and the oldest one was 15, kicked some poor guy to death.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I said we've got to lower the age of accountability. Who can do that? The D.C. Council. They don't want to do it. These bozos on the D.C. Council, most of them, they don't even want to allow for a discretionary curfew during the week the kids are on vacation.
What's with that curfew to expire in 2 days?
Well, it's expiring. They voted 9 to 4 to put it off until after the school vacation is over.
What's their objection to it?
You're going to have to put them in this seat and ask them, because everyone in this city is entitled to a safe city, the ability to live in quiet enjoyment. The businesses should be entitled to not worry about kids overrunning the neighborhood, about a stampede that gets out of control, about whatever these kids are doing. They're fighting. We've got a fray where it's called mutual combat, where there is a sexual assault. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, it's funny. I mean, you and I come from different sides of the aisle in terms of you were a prosecutor, I was a defense attorney, and I played that tape last week of you talking about a guy who got 29 years, and he's, I think, 21 years old or something. And at the end, it struck me when I played it, because I've known you for years, you said, what a waste. And I thought, I could sort of feel that, that you felt the sensitivity, like it really is so tragic that some of these young people, we can't let them do terrible things, but 29 years, and, what do you do?
You really sensed me very well. That's because you know me very well, Greta. When I see these young kids who are allowed from the time they're 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 to commit these outrageous crimes, I get them when they're 18, they commit a murder. I'm into 30 years at this point. This is a murder. You took a life. And yet there was no intervention. The family court and the Office of the Attorney General, their focus is not deterrence, it's not punishment, it's not retribution, it's rehabilitation. They are not rehabilitating. So give these kids and me a chance where I can say to them, you know what, there's a consequence here. That doesn't mean I can't rehabilitate them. Of course I can. But get them into the criminal justice system sooner so they don't do it carjacking, then an armed carjacking, then an assault, and then a robbery, and then an armed robbery. I mean, let them know that they're going to get stopped. And it's not happening here.
You can tell that you are relatively new to the town. You call them Attorney General. And it's probably been Attorney General for a long time. We used to call it Corporation Counsel. And they did virtually nothing to sort of help these kids then. The only change I could see is they got a new name. It went from being called Corporation Counsel to being called Attorney General. But there was nothing for these kids.
Yeah. And unfortunately, these kids, let's talk about a curfew. The kids get arrested. And they go to a special, it's like our C-10 in the criminal part. They go to a special section. It's called, I think it's JM-15. And they basically are not released unless a parent or guardian picks them up. And if they don't come and pick them up, then somebody from Division of Family and Children's Services comes to get them. Okay, so there is some recognition that parents should be involved. They've got to be more involved. But the truth is, with the D.C. Council giving free rein, these kids go to the family court, they go to the yoga or some kind of ice cream social, they're let go, and that's the end of it.
Well, what about, like these 5 girls that kicked this poor guy to death? And they were out latest after midnight. I don't know if there's a curfew then or not. But what about, is there any sort of, the parents aren't doing anything. How do you hold the parents? The parents could be your intervention in some ways, but parents, there's no law. Some states you're seeing parents being prosecuted. You're seeing more and more of that, like where they give the kid a gun knowing the kid's got, anger issues.
Yeah, you see, that's a little clearer case. You and I have been, tackling this issue for many years. How responsible should parents be for young kids who commit crimes? If you give your kid a gun and you know that kid is going to use the gun, you know what? As far as I'm concerned, there's accessorial conduct there, and you should be liable.
8 and a better.
Yeah.
8 and a better.
Yeah, you're an 8 and a better. So, but the problem now is that a lot of these parents are not around. They come from a dysfunctional family, so there's no one to keep these kids together. And if we're relying on family court and thinking that they're going to rehabilitate them, they're not. And the proof is in the pudding, because when I get them, they've got all kinds of records like this, and no one's done a damn thing.
If you could have a magic wand for one law to create in this city to help you, what do you need?
I would lower the age of accountability. I would lower it 14, 15, 16, and 17. I could graduate it in terms of the crime, but I've got to have 16 and 17-year-olds subject to my jurisdiction, or else the city goes to hell, no matter what we do with the adults. Wait until this summer, Greta. It's only going to get worse.
U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro for the District of Columbia, my old friend.
My old pal, Greta.
One of my dear old friends. Anyway, nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you for joining me. People think news just happens. It doesn't. It happens because there's someone there to capture the moment, to explain it and share it. That's my job. I go where news breaks and give you the facts. Join me for The Record on Newsmax.